Okay, so you think politics is weird? Well, some stories are truly out of this world. Today, we're going to unpack how a single comment on a podcast about aliens managed to spiral into a full-blown presidential directive, and it all happened in just 72 hours.
And boom, it all culminates in this absolutely stunning post on Truth Social. Former President Donald Trump promises to direct the release of all government files on alien and extraterrestrial life. I mean, for a topic that's usually, way out on the fringes, this was a massive announcement.
So you gotta ask yourself, how did we get from a podcast to that so fast? Because something this big doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. Turns out the whole thing was the result of this rapid-fire chain of events that played out for everyone to see. Okay, check out this timeline. It is an absolute whirlwind. So on day one, you've got Barack Obama, who makes what seems like a casual, off-the-cuff remark on a podcast. By day two, Donald Trump seizes on it, accusing him of leaking classified information. And then, by day three, a total pivot. Trump orders the release of all of the files. It was an incredibly fast escalation.
All right, so this is where it gets really interesting. It forces us to ask the big question that pretty much everyone was asking. Was this a genuine move for transparency? The real deal? Or was this all just some very sophisticated political theater?
So Trump's first move, right, the thing that kicked this whole thing off, was this accusation. He was essentially arguing that Obama had just revealed classified information on that podcast, basically implying that the existence of aliens is a classified secret and Obama just let the cat out of the bag. Now, here's where the plot thickens, right? The irony here is just, wow. Commentators immediately jumped on this, pointing out that Trump himself was literally indicted over his own handling of classified documents. And yet here he was, accusing his predecessor of being careless with state secrets. So all of this just added fuel to the fire for people saying, hold on, this is just a calculated political play. For one, his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump, mentioned he had a speech on this topic all ready to go. Critics also pointed to his history of targeting political rivals. And, of course, some suggested it was the ultimate distraction, a way to pull everyone's attention away from other, less favorable stories. Okay, but what if it's not just politics? Let's flip the script for a second. For the people who've been waiting for this moment, for disclosure advocates, this wasn't some distraction. This was a massive, world-changing milestone. You have people like documentary producer Dan Farah who are basically saying, this is it. This is a historic turning point. For them, Trump's announcement isn't a political stunt at all, but the culmination of years of work by people inside the system pushing for exactly this, the start of a real disclosure process. And the claim his work is based on, wow, it's absolutely explosive. After interviewing tons of high-level officials, the core argument is that a government cover-up of non-human intelligence has been actively going on for over 80 years. And look, according to these sources, the stakes couldn't be higher. The secrecy isn't just about hiding the existence of aliens. It's about a secret, high-stakes arms race to try and reverse-engineer technology from a non-human origin before our adversaries can do it first. So you've got these wild claims flying around, a secret Cold War on one side, political theater on the other. How on earth do you prove any of it is real? Well, that's where the science comes in. Enter Avi Loeb, a top astrophysicist at Harvard. And his whole thing is, look, this is one of the biggest questions in science, but we have to take it out of the realm of belief and ground it in hard evidence. For scientists, it's not about what you want to be true, it's about what you can actually prove. Right, so what does that even look like? What would it actually take to turn some blurry photo or an eyewitness story into cold, hard scientific proof? What would the scientists actually be looking for in all these files? Well, it turns out there is a pretty clear playbook for this. First, scientists like Loeb would analyze any materials they could get their hands on, checking for isotope ratios that are totally alien to our solar system. Second, they'd look at flight data, looking for objects that move in ways that just defy known physics and our own technology. And probably the most important part, no secrets. Everything has to be published and reviewed by the entire global scientific community. Okay, so this all leads to the million-dollar question, right? If these files ever actually see the light of day, what are we really going to find? Because hope is sky high, but man, so is the skepticism. And really, the whole debate boils down to two very different camps. You've got the hopeful view, which is that this is the beginning of the end, the moment we finally confirm we're not alone. And then you have the skeptics, who are basically saying, hey, we've heard this song before, and that any really compelling info has probably already been released.
So why would they keep all this a secret for so long anyway? Well, experts have a few pretty good ideas. First, simple national security. As a former UK official, Nick Pope, points out, you would never want your enemies to know about any exotic tech you might be studying. And then there's the other big reason. Plain old embarrassment. Intelligence agencies really don't like to admit that there are things flying around in their own airspace that they just can't identify.
And this just shows you how divided even the experts are on this. On one hand, you have the total optimists like Dan Farah. Then you have the convinced insiders like Nick Pope. And then, all the way on the other end of the spectrum, you've got deep skeptics like Keith Cowing from NASA Watch, who basically thinks there's probably nothing left to even release.
So where does all this leave us? Well, we are standing at this truly bizarre intersection of pop culture, presidential politics, and just maybe one of the biggest questions humanity has ever asked. Is this really the dawn of a new age, or is it just the most otherworldly political distraction in history? For now, the files are still secret, and we're all just left to wonder.